she got really bad into the drugs again, and she didn't really let me come around and stuff. And she happened to see my daughter outside one day and was like, "Hey, can you come sit on the staircase with the kids, sit in my house with the kids, they're upstairs, I'll be right back." And she had told my daughter, "Do not touch them, do not talk to them, do not even look at them, because I don't want them to get used to having attention that they're not going to get." And my daughter is 14 years old at this time, and she comes home and she was like, "Mom," she's like, "she told me not to touch them." She's like, "But they're babies, I couldn't." She's like, "I had to go in there." And she was like, "They were barricaded in there, Mom, like barricaded with a microwave, by themselves, dirty diapers." And she came home crying. And then just one day, we never seen the kids. They never came outside. And I work graveyard at the casino, and she and Kenneth are there every single night, all night long. I mean, I work from 11 to 8 in the morning, and they're there the whole time. And then it comes to find out that they were giving the kids the Benadryl to pass them out and stuff.
An old landlord of Lori's had said that when Lori had moved out of her place that she was renting to Lori, there were bottles of Benadryl everywhere, and that before that the kids supposedly slept a lot, like that were in her custody at that time. I'm not sure what children it was.
I seen her going downhill. I seen her go from a normal mom to super, super skinny and violent, and that evil come back out in her.
I think the first thing that Kid ever told me that happened that they witnessed was Lori hitting Francisco over the head with a chair. And they remembered like the blood, and they said that it was just really scary, and they were really young when they saw it. They talked a lot about just like screaming and yelling and watching Lori beat up their dad, and then the police would get called and Francisco would be the one that would get arrested for it. Lori had said this about her children. She was asked, "Where are the kids? You've been high for days." And she said that she didn't care, and she wished that, they would die, essentially.
I am Charlotte. I'm Kit's older sister, not biologically.
Kit was a remarkable child, and while in the care of Bonnie and Charles, Kit was loved and taken care of.
We were raised as sisters from the time Kit was 4 and I was 10 up until, now, We had a yard sale one time, and I had sold something that Kit really liked, and it's really funny because, they were 4 or 5. And I liked it too, but I was like, I'm too old for this, so I don't need it anymore. And Kit comes up to me and just starts pounding on my back. And she's like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I sold it." She's like, "You ruined everything." And I was like, "What do you mean? What did I ruin?" She's like, "My dreams." And I was like, "Okay, bro," But everyone in the whole garage just thought it was the most funny thing in the world.
I love you so much. Here's my friend Charlie.
And
a little kid.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. Or from the start, they always wanted to be a paleontologist, all about the dinosaur bones. That was one a huge interest. And we were always like, okay, well that's a lot of school, you're gonna have to be. That's expensive, so start thinking about college and scholarships, because that's a lot. You gotta keep your grades up.
Well, first of all, I got this little pterodactyl dude. He's pretty cool. I got this derpy Tyrannosaurus, this thing here. Here's the briar. And there's the other horse that I got. Hold on. Yeah, it's right there. That's what I got.
And then once they started going to kindergarten, they always had this really cute little half updo, the little ponytail on top, that hung off to the side, straight across bangs, super cute, big old smile. Loved their teachers. Loved, doing the art projects. Wasn't so big on PE. Did not like to run. But I had a friend that had a pool. Kit loved swimming. They were like a fish when they were younger. They loved water. It was the coolest thing.
Everyone, it's Carmita. Welcome to Missing in the PNW.
A podcast host would interview Charlotte and Malia.
So, Malia, you said, is her older sister, right? Is Kit's older sister. Okay.
Yes.
And so, Malia, from what I read and what I heard, has also experienced the abuse for like most of her life.
Malia would share her traumatic experience.
So I have like this thing with water getting in my nose. And I remember Lori ran us a bath, and she ran us a bath, and I remember like it was normal, like we were just getting into the bath together, playing like we usually do, and I remember like going under the water, and she just like put us under the water. I remember kicking and like trying to breathe, you know, and I remember feeling my brother kicking, and then I remember my grandma coming in, and they just started yelling, and like if it wasn't for my grandma, I don't even think I'd be alive, honestly.
This is my thought. She transformed her back, trying to make her a girl and doing all this and doing all that. Well, Lori apparently got into heroin. And she was doing heroin. She was doing heroin and through extended family in Omak. And I had happened to go up there, and Jimmy came and picked me up and brought me up to the house. And I go, "Who's that?" And he goes, "Oh, that's your daughter." I go, "Lori Sue?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "What is she doing?" He goes, "Oh, she didn't have her kids. And then she tried to make good with me, like she's not doing anything. She's going to church and she'd play this, and she's a good actress. And she was doing all these things, but, you know, she was still using.
With all the kids who have been taken, you know, away in the reports and the shows, like that, there was neglect way back from when, you know, Lori was a teenager. And I understand, you know, I feel like a lot of people fail to recognize the fact that she didn't have that great of a mom either. And, you know, a lot of people bring that into perspective, like, you know, Lori had a hard life and everything, but I had a hard life too, and you have to be strong enough to break that. You have to want to break that. You have to want to do better by your kids. You have to want to look at their faces and see, as a parent, I can understand now because I am a parent. I could never do the things that my mother did to me and my brother and our siblings to my own son. Looking at that, it's like, how could you? How could you look at these babies and feel the need to hurt them the way that she does?
Yeah.
And like, there was just so many times we were hungry, and even the Jello thing, like if we had one more, you know, like we got beat up, like we got fucked up for that. And it's not right. Like, you know, as a kid, you think, oh, like, dang, I should have listened. I shouldn't have did that. That's my fault. That's on me. As a kid, you're like, yeah, I was being bad. But no, it was my parent who was being bad, and they didn't protect me and feed me, and they had no regards for me at the end of the day. And I know that in some part of Lori, I'm sure she loves her kids, but she loves herself more. She's always putting men above, you know, me.
Yeah.
And I can tell it from my own experience. She's had me try to like call multiple guys when I was growing up, my dad and stuff, and try to bring me around guys and like front like she was like the perfect mom. And then when I had a visitation with her after my brother had passed away, it was the first time we've seen each other in a long time. She tried to get her boyfriend at the time, Kenneth, to like have me call him dad and take pictures with him. And I was like, no, there's no way. Like,
that's weird.
Yeah. Like,
we said that at the same time. Yeah, that's weird.
Hey.
Malia would visit with Lori Sue just before Kit went to stay with Lori in Omak.
She tried to like force me to basically stay there. I told her not to get an extra bed inside the room because I was going home. I didn't feel comfortable staying there. That was the first time I got to meet my littler siblings that I never got to see in person, but only over video calls here and there whenever she would allow it. And
I was like, I remember she made me feel so bad. Well, I just bought this room and came all the way down here for you and this and that. I thought it was supposed to be bonding over my brother and trying to make that reconnection again, because Javante, before he passed away, he was like, forgive mom. He had a better heart than I could ever have, honestly. It's sad what she had gone through. She tried to, she told me that she was raped and this and that, and she was sold. Like, her mom didn't care and sold her.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I understand, like, there's a lot of trauma, but you don't get to do that to your kids. You don't get to be that person to your kids. You don't have any right to do that to an innocent child. Nobody does. Children didn't never ask to be here. I didn't ask to be here. But my mother doesn't look at kids as kids. Like, they're like a paycheck.
Shortly before Kit went to stay with Lori, she began to show Kit attention.
Lori had been sending them money and giving them gifts, and they came down to visit with Lori's then boyfriend, Kenneth, and had met and let Kit meet their younger siblings, and Lori was pregnant with her son. There was like one time, I think in 2019, 2020, I'm not sure exactly, where Lori had tried to contact my mom and ask if she could talk to Kit. And my mom was like, if Kit wants to, if they want to talk to you, they can talk to you. They have Facebook. In 2020, like really late 2020, Kit went ahead and accepted the friend request and was messaging back and forth. And that's kind of when the gift giving and the money giving started.
Kit went missing April this year.
Right.
Then they said Kit went missing September. Then apparently Lori said something, and then everybody else is saying no, Kit actually been missing since November 2021, because that's the last time anybody seen or heard from them.
We, on most of our posters, are going to be putting April because that's what the police are going off of for the most part, because that's when Lori claims that Kit ran away, is April of 2022. There's two reasons why we don't believe April. Number one, Kit's birthday is in April, so it's an easy date to remember. Number two, that's also when her son committed suicide.
Okay.
Easy dates to remember. So November 2021 is when Kit's social media presence completely ended. That is when none of Kit's online friends, none of Kit's friends from Yakima, none of Kit's friends from OMAC, essentially, nobody's heard from Kit at all. Did say that Kit had kind of stopped attending right around November, and then friends from school said that they didn't see Kit really before Christmas break or after. They didn't give me like an exact November, but that general area of time. And then when Kit actually went to live with Lori was in, I think it was June. It must have been June. I think it was June 29th is when they went
2021?
Yeah.
Your phone, social media, if you have a friend group, like that's everything.
One of Kit's friends contacted me and was like, hey, do you know how to get a hold of them? Like, I haven't heard from them in a really long time. And I was like, I haven't either. I kind of just think they don't want anything to do with me. Which, whatever, it happens.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I was feeling. I was like, it sucks, but they don't talk to me. And their friend was like, well, they were talking to me, and then all of a sudden they stopped, and I just haven't heard from them, so I want to know. I was like, last I heard, they were still living with their mom in OMAC. That's really all I can give you.
Yeah.
This is the social media that I have for, Kit's mom. This is what I know. The last phone numbers that I had for them are all disconnected. I don't know how to get in contact.
Yeah.
So that friend went with their grandma to OMAC to go find Kit, and they couldn't find Kit at all. They couldn't get any information. So they went to the police station. The police station went to Lori's apartment, and that is when Lori was like, oh, yeah, no, Kit ran away in April. We weren't there, and we know that. And, that sucks. But Lori had told all of us basically that Kit didn't want anything to do with us, that they were trying to bond with their mother. And we were like, okay. Lori had accused my dad of sexually assaulting Kit.
Oh, jeez.
In order to, I think it was a tactic to isolate and be like, my dad's obviously not going to want to be like, oh, well, yeah, let's go over there and see what happened,
yeah.
Shock. And I was, of course, pissed off because I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? But looking back on it now, I understand why it was said and why that happened. But at the time, I was just so angry. I was like, you know what? If you don't want anything to do with me, that's fine, but don't come for my dad.
Yeah.
I started getting just like this weird feeling. I was in treatment, and I was talking to my treatment counselor constantly. I was like, something's not right. Like, I feel like something's not right. I'm looking at everything that's been posted by Lori, and something feels like grooming. This feels like grooming. I don't know what it is. Something feels like grooming. My treatment counselor was like, call the police, have them do a wellness check. Yeah. So I had them do a wellness check, and they didn't tell us exactly who they spoke to. They didn't give us names of who they spoke to. They just said, we saw the girl with the black hair holding the baby, and she said that she was fine.
What the hell?
We're like, okay, well, did you speak directly to Kit? But we told them Esmeralda because that's the lead name. And we're like, so did you speak directly to them, or did you talk to Lori? Like, who did you talk to? And they're like, the girl with the black hair holding the baby. We're like, that's really cool. That's really helpful. So while they did do a wellness check, we don't even know if they spoke to Kit.
And in pretty much every state. I know they have one in Oregon, because that's where I grew up. Probably in every state they have a law against, with kids going to school and truancy and all that. But in Washington specifically, have you heard of Becca's Bill?
Yes. And I actually asked the school when I had called them, I was like, well, did you follow Becca Bill protocol?
Right.
And they were like, yeah, we tried to get a hold of everybody. And I was like, did you send officers to the apartment? And they were like, well, no, because we couldn't get a hold of anybody. And I was like,
but you have an address.
I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you couldn't get a hold of anybody? And at that point, I was like, whatever. I just want to know, does Kit's counselor know anything? Can I speak to Kit's counselor? Because this is a missing child. And they're like, well, actually, she's on a medical leave right now. She won't be back until, I think they said November. And I was like, that's really cool. I don't care. Have her call me.
Yeah.
And of course, I never received a call. So somebody had sent us over a couple pictures of the case report and findings, essentially. Okay. And what was outlined in it was, so the police had went there because they were told to do a wellness check, I assume.
Okay.
When they went into the home, what they found was kids that were completely matted with filth, dirt caked on them, soiled diapers. They were basically blockaded upstairs. They could not come down. There was wires and stuff from the outlets and stuff where the kids could have gotten to it. Keep in mind that there's a 1-year-old there. You can't do that.
Yeah.
There was a dresser pushed up against a window, so any of those kids could have, climbed up on it and fallen out the window. And that's not even the worst of it, because then they found adult bite marks on some of them. In various stages of healing. They found burns in various stages of healing on these kids, all under 5. And they took them away. They took them to the hospital. They got treated. I don't know where they were placed or anything. I don't know how long they were taken, but they are now back home with Lori. I don't understand why that didn't bring criminal charges to Lori, because I know that's not legal. I don't understand how you don't get actual charges brought against you in jail time. And then the fact that we mentioned to the caseworker that Kit was missing, and all she basically said was, she's not on the case, we don't care.
On the next upload of Unsolved True Crime, we will explore more about what happened to Kit, as well as several key figures in Kit's disappearance. We will interview neighbors of Lori Sue Nelson, as well as an interview with Lori's ex-boyfriend. This is Unsolved True Crime.